All right, Alyssa. So thank you so much for coming onto our podcast and really trying to give our audience as much value as possible. So the first question our audience has to know is, what is your story? Like, how did you get into business?
Oh my gosh. Well, hello. Hi. I'm so happy to be here. How did I get into business? I kind of say that I came out of the womb loving kind of anything at the intersection of creativity and business. And that was really, from the time I was pretty much five, I was selling potpourri door to door. Mind you, it was with stolen flowers. I mean, or I didn't know that people could own flowers. I just thought, so I'm like, making potpourri, adding value in that way.
Right.
And sure enough, apparently those were the neighbor's rose bushes, and she wasn't that happy that I had taken all of these beautiful roses apart to sell them for 25 cents door to door.
Capitalism at its finest.
Yeah.
Capitalism at its finest. Here I am. But yeah, so that was kind of my first business. Second business, I think I was about seven, and we had a lemonade stand that made about $1,000.
Wow.
It was over 4th of July weekend, and we had these little red wagons and hired all the neighborhood kids. And so I mean, it was like, again, it was like a pretty big operation for like being seven, and we kept bringing it
Wow.
every year. So that was kind of like my early, intro to business, and just like slowly, and just loved it. And I always say, like, I kind of went and did the college thing and got my big girl job, but really truly I've always been so interested in creating something that doesn't exist. I think that is the power of entrepreneurship and of business owners. They're just really creative, and they're finding other ways to provide value for the people around them. And so that's really fun to me. That's I would say that's like the foundation of all of the businesses that I have been in or started, has been, okay, how are we going to do this interestingly or better, or provide more value, or save time, or kind of like provide something that doesn't exist. So so I would say that's kind of my start into business. But I've been in real business. Man, I think I started my first business in 2013. So that was almost 6 years ago. And bought my first rental property as well in 2013. So, here I am.
Awesome. So it sounds like that entrepreneurship and business ownership has pretty much been in your bones since you were about five years old. And I feel like that's just so amazing. So just out of curiosity, were your parents entrepreneurial, or did they just promote you, doing whatever you wanted and, your freedom to, make your own choices?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, neither one of my parents. Well, actually, my dad later in life did start a business, and no, I think they were really confused with like how they came up with how they had this daughter that was like always creating and always building things, and always, like, whether it was sewing or making, like, quote unquote robots out of cans, or just whatever, is
Awesome.
always creating. And I think yeah, I think they were really pretty confused with where I came from. But they did a good job of nurturing it. I remember my mom, I asked questions about the stock market. This is kind of funny, but like, questions about the stock market really, really early on. And she was like, well, Alyssa, if you save up to $100, which was so much money, I remember being like, that's like a million.
Yeah, right.
But she's like, if you save up to $100, I will help you invest it. And so she really did, so we did. So she invested it into some kind of stock or bond, or I don't even remember exactly. But and then 5 years later, I think it was like 170 out or something. And maybe it wasn't even 5 years, but I remember that was, she did nurture, a business. I would say like a business and a money positive mindset in a lot of ways.
And that's actually really good because there's a lot of parents that actually don't do that. So wherever your mom and dad are, I think you should go congratulate them. I'm pretty sure they aren't perfect, but trust me, they did a lot more than other parents that I know.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
that is really awesome. So what got you actually started in the fashion industry and the styling industry?
Yeah, so I got started in fashion. Let's see, I think it really started well. What I didn't tell you when I was selling potpourri door to door was I was also wearing at 5 like a little thing dress thing that I had created. No surprise there, right? Um,
Right.
and I actually grew up abroad in Southeast Asia, and in Asia we didn't have we had tailors everywhere, and so I just started making or designing clothes that I could have made. And Mr. Tom was our tailor, and I would literally just draw whatever I wanted and he would sew what I wanted. And so that was really like my love for fashion was really cultivated in that way. And then and then like I said, I the thing that my parents didn't do is they did not pay for college at all, so I had to I did have to go get multiple jobs
Yeah.
to pay for school because that was a priority to me. To go to school was a priority. So and one of the jobs, I think at one point I had 3 or 4 jobs. It was just like crazy, college. Like,
It's nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I could do that now. But anyway,
Uh,
I just was like, I just would like go from one job to nannying to like, but one of the jobs I got was at a clothing store and called Anthropology. And I, from there, and I was kind of in school and I rose the ranks there and actually got into merchandising. So I was the visual merchandising manager, which basically means that you're in charge of all things visual. And I would say really it's like merchandise marketing. So you're actually like making sure that the product is in the right place, the outfitting is
Right.
correct. Kind of everything, the whole store is really appealing and is encouraging people to shop and to shop in a way that makes sense to them. So that was that's how I got into fashion. And that was a great training ground for me, such a good training ground, because I learned so much about um, styling, which is one of my businesses is I'm a stylist. And I also learned about just people and customers and numbers and managing a team. I managed a team of 35, so that's a big, that's a lot of people to be responsible for. And so so that was kind of fashion. And then when after I graduated from college, I went and kind of got my what I'd call my big girl job is in marketing, and was kind of like rising the ranks.
Yeah.
And I just kind of looked around and I was like, I don't want to be these people. Like my career path, I have no desire to be like a CMO or like the VP of marketing or something like that. I was like, your work-life balance is not good. Like it was like not what I wanted. And so at that point, that's when I started Styled by E, my styling business on the side. I really missed that creative role that I had at Anthropology. So I just created it on the side.
Awesome.
so can you talk more about your company now? Like, what do you do from day to day as a stylist?
Yeah. So first of all, it's amazing. If you can ever hire a stylist, hire a heart-centered one that really will see you at your next level, because it totally changes your life and how you can kind of embody your next level and truly step into it. It's almost like you're creating, or you're just like a good stylist will see you at your next level and almost like call you to rise into that. And even if you're just a little bit like, what is happening? What am I wearing? But then I feel like the most like myself, but I also feel like, when you feel really like yourself, sometimes you feel a little naked too at the same time.
Mhm.
So my day to day, so I'm a stylist and I call myself a heart-centered stylist. And basically my day to day is, so it kind of depends on the day, but I'm often working with clients, whether that's, doing a photo shoot, a rebrand photo shoot for them, or I also, kind of my main like one of the biggest main packages that I do is called what I call Embody Abundance. And basically what that is where I am, we have a call and we really do create your next level. What is that next income? What is that? Is that relationally? What is truly, what are you stepping into? We create that. And then I actually merge kind of what you already have in your closet with little pieces that will help you to kind of rise and help you to step into where you're going. And so that means my day-to-day could be calls, or my day-to-day could be creating that wardrobe, that virtual wardrobe. It could be prepping, I have a couple photo shoots coming up, so that's coordinating with the photographer and or the makeup artist. I actually coordinate the whole photo shoots, and so I, it's that's a lot of communication there. Yeah, I think that's kind of what my day-to-day looks like. Sometimes, I also, I run a school, so sometimes, that's launching in a couple weeks now, so that will be, I'm often writing emails, or making sure that word is kind of out there of what is, of what else, how people can work with me, or how people can kind of find their next clients. So that's also what I do.
Nice.
That's cool. And you mentioned something, and I'm glad I remembered it, because you sped past it, but I want to talk about that just a little bit. When you were talking about, your clients, helping them reach their next level, and maybe they'll put on something that's new to them. And you said that they'll feel more like themselves, but they'll also feel naked. And I felt like that meant something a little bit more. So I wanted you to talk about what that actually meant for you philosophically, because I feel like you have some experience with that.
Yeah, so I'll never forget one time I was dressing a client, and this woman is a powerhouse now, like such a radical change, a radical stand for change in the world. I would say like such grace and beauty, and just like, and powerful. And she was hiding. She was truly hiding. She was wearing like oversized, just oversized clothes, like really truly was hiding. And beautiful woman, like just so powerful. And so we did all this work, and I always kind of say it's like we're kind of like sorting through the, like, it's almost like you have these like lies, honestly they're lies of who you think you are. And so when we're kind of start to like peel those away, you step into who you are, and you are actually like, wow. But it's also a little bit scary, because then you're yourself. And so we put her in this, and this, I knew this was going to be a little bit of like this is going to be, not a challenge, like just
A
it was
stretch
a
for her.
stretch for her. But she was like, and one of the questions I always ask is, when you were little, what did you like to wear? And for her, she was like, I wore bright things. I loved bright things. I loved flowy things. I was a dancer, so I just wanted to be like, on stage all the time. And through life, she kind of again started to hide. A lot of times what happens with women is if they have weight gain at all, then they're just like, oh, I'm not beautiful anymore. And they just start to hide, which is the biggest lie. I think that's a lie straight from hell. Like, I think that's just like such bullshit.
Yeah.
And so, because we just are beautiful, period. And our souls are beautiful. So our bodies follow suit with our souls. But anyway, I got off topic. So
No, you're good. You're good.
so I put her in this beautiful two-piece red dress, and it was like a red skirt and a red top, and she looked at herself in the mirror and started crying, because she said, I see myself. I see myself.
Wow.
And then she starts like crying. She can barely like keep it together, because she actually, when you actually see who you are without all the kind of the fuzzies, or the lies that are around you, it's really empowering. But it's also like, you do feel really naked, because all of a sudden the things that you've been used to, kind of hiding behind, aren't there anymore. And so it's really powerful. Like, people notice that. People notice your shininess, you know, they take note whether or not you're the loudest person in the room or the quietest person. If you're embodied and know who you are, people notice you. And so, so that was her experience. And it was really beautiful because she was like, I see myself. This is me. She did have an emotional experience because all of a sudden she wasn't hiding. And that was really her stepping into her next level. That was her stepping into herself without the cloudiness.
Yeah. And that's so amazing too, because I feel like as an entrepreneur, what I'm finding is that the highest level of courage is not necessarily, hiding behind this armor or this wall and being impenetrable, but the highest level of courage is being able to be vulnerable and authentically yourself and exposed to the outside world. And I think it's so amazing that you actually help people do that, because I feel like it's something that's very, very needed in our age where, social media is everywhere and we have all of these images of perfection. So we kind of hide ourselves. So I want first thank you for what you do. And I think Jasmine might be have a new stylist one day.
Oh, so, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you just hit the nail on the head. Like, I think you said it perfectly, and I think we have this belief that we have to have an exterior of who we are, but that's built on the principle that we're not enough.
Yeah.
And so when you actually say, like, no, I'm enough, I'm not only enough, I just am. I stand because I am. Then all of a sudden, like, first of all, it disarms everybody around you, because you can't, you know who you are. So it just is. It's like, you could tell me something, you could tell me a lie about myself, but when you know who you are, you're just like, that's an opinion. Thank you very much. I like, bless you, but this is who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just 100%, I think to lead through vulnerability and authenticity makes the entire world a better place, because when you think about it, everybody is we're all just children kind of at our center, that all have these insecurities and all have these fears and all have this. And so when you actually show up in a vulnerable and powerful way, oh my gosh, it's like everybody can kind of finally breathe. And it gives them permission too, to be like, oh my gosh, you know what? I love red, I'm going to wear red, or I love, or whatever it is. Or maybe I really just do want to be comfortable all the time, and that's how I'm going to be. Or maybe, so you just really get to lead with your authentic self. It's amazing. It really changes the world.
That's beautiful.
That is. So I think this is a great moment to transition, or I guess talk about it a little bit more. On Instagram, you always talk about the next level version of you. And it sounds like you were touching on it a little bit before. So can you explain that?
Yeah. So next level version of yourself, I always say is, well, interestingly, I use the word next level, but really I think any next level is just a journey back into yourself. But people that's a hard thing to grasp. That's a hard thing to grasp, because we're always kind of trying to, in our culture, we're still like, wait, what's the next version? What's the next, income level? What's the thing? And so, but here's the deal, is like, we're infinite souls in human bodies. So like we really just, the possibilities of what we can do with our lives is infinite. And so, but we have to get our belief, we have to get all the alignment kind of behind it, And so with next level self, the way that I describe it is kind of, well, with my clients, we actually do a meditation, because I want to quiet down your brain and really listen to your heart of like, okay, what does next level version of you, what does she eat? What does she wear? How does she act? How does she carry herself? What kind of income is she making? What kind of relationships does she have? And I'm using she because my target market is mostly women, although now all the men are coming too. So I guess rearrange myself a little.
We want to look better and make more money too.
Right.
Like one of my friends is like, said the same thing. He was like, Elissa, you're like leaving us out. He's like, oh, you can do it. Why aren't you like, he's like, anyway, I was laughing so hard. So I'm like I said, I'm bringing the men in too, because I think they want it too. And yeah, anyway, so next level is really, really very clear. So it's like, what is, you have to get really, really, really clear about, how do you show up? What is that person? And it's a visualization, because the thing is, like, once you kind of have a picture here, it's just the process of embodiment is just bringing it from here to your space and then inside. And the way that I describe is next levels. That's why I talk a lot about embodiment. It's because you're embodying with the clothes that you're wearing is a form of embodiment. You know, you're actually bringing that next level version, and you're like actually dressing for her or dressing for him. And so, and you always kind of know, like think about what your favorite thing to wear. And when you put that on, you are like, oh, I am here for it,
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's the feeling that I'm trying to generate for all of my clients, is that feeling of like, oh, I'm here for it. Like, oh, I'm the boss, or I'm the person who like determines like, what my next level is, or where I'm going, or, how I react to people, or, whatever. Or not even how I react, but how I just am. So that's what I describe as my next level, or your next level self.
Yeah. And it's cool because it sounds like you're actually getting people to wear their soul, their inner spirit on the outside.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Exactly. And we have so much, like, listen, we have so much about like, I love beauty. And we have so much like, and we get stuck in this, in the world of like personal development and growth and stuff. It's all about like money, and how are you going to make money, and how are you going to like better yourself, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, you're not going to make money unless you're actually being the person that makes that money. Like there are people, millionaires, lose their millions and then still make more money, because they have embodied that essence. And so, so that's what I think of, like clothes is just like one access point of embodying that version, that who you are, person. So.
All right. So we talked a lot about your styling business. Now, can you tell us a little bit about what you did with real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. So so my husband and I bought our first property. It was like a distressed property just east of San Diego. There were legitimate squatters on it. And if you've never had squatters on your property, basically there were 7 trailers. It was like 10 acres, and there were 7 trailers of people that were living there like illegally. And so nobody would touch it. It was a beautiful property, beautiful, with like a beautiful view. And it kind of has like 2 areas to it. I mean, 10 acres, it was like, a house, and then down, and I kind of called it the lower 40, but there were squatters. And so nobody would touch it. It was a good $100,000 below market value at the time. And this is in 2013, when real estate prices were pretty depressed. The market, it was still recovering from the big crash, especially in this part of San Diego. And so we went in there and we were like, I think we can like do this. And so, basically we, instead of doing a big legal battle, which can be, a lot, we basically just offered cash for keys. And we said, listen, we told the squatters, like, listen, we're going to move in here, and we're going to either, it's going to take 6 months, and we will get you off, or you can just leave right now and we'll give you some money to leave. And they said, oh my gosh, that's great. So they packed up all their stuff, all 7 trailers worth, and left. And so, but it still took 7 40 cubic feet dumpsters to get all their stuff off. So that was insane. But it was really fun. It was really amazing just to watch that process. That's really, I think, where I fell in love with real estate, was the process of turning something that people kind of had really written off, and just seeing past that and seeing the beauty of it, and seeing, that there's 100-year-old oak trees on this property. And so we just we were like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's really inexpensive, but we are going to put in, we're going to hold the vision, and we're going to put in that sweat equity essentially, to really turn it into a beautiful place. And so that's what we did. And we transformed the valley, and then the main house as well, repainted, new floors, kind of new countertops. So we did a lot there as well. And it's beautiful, new windows. And we still own it. I mean, I'm in the process of an evolution out of marriage, as I call it. And so, but that's still, has been an income producing property since then. So.
Awesome.
So what actually motivated you to get into real estate and start, buying properties?
I think, so I realized that I didn't want to just be a renter, because I was essentially throwing away our rental property, or rental prices in California are really high. And, there's like a way, there's so many different ways to view rent, and because it is an expense, and sometimes in home ownership is also an expense, is a time expense. And so, you kind of have to weigh everything. But I early on was like, wait a minute. I remember looking at condos in college and being like, wait, if I bought this and I rented out 2 of these bedrooms, I would be getting paid, Yeah. And so I think it was really a matter of, just always looking at property and realizing that if I bought something and the mortgage was one thing, and then I was having somebody else pay some of that, at the end of 20 years or 30 years, I have an asset that has appreciated and there's no loan on it anymore, And so it was more of a financial thing. And I mean, to be really transparent, I just love houses. Some people love things, and I just love property, and I love making spaces beautiful. And I think I love making the world around me beautiful. And so I love, clothes. It's no coincidence that like clothes and houses are both physical things that I really feel like you get to experience a little bit of heaven or God when you're in a beautiful place and around beautiful things. So that was, and it's just a fringe benefit. And I mean, it's amazing that like to get into passive income, where you're not doing a whole bunch. And, it's been a learning process too, though. It's not just, I think sometimes people start the real estate game and they're like, I'm going to make millions. And I'm like, yeah.
Hold on there.
Right.
And you have to like, are you ready to like screen tenants, and are you ready to evict somebody, and do you know all those laws, and do you have a good lease in place, and so there's just, and are you ready to pay all those taxes, and are you ready to be aware of that, and are you ready to like fix a water heater, or and so there's all that too. But I think did that answer your question? I think just true. Yeah. love for beautiful buildings and a love for passive income as well.
Awesome.
So what are some key principles of business, either in real estate or in your styling business, that you've taken along the way?
That is such a good question. I think lead with authenticity. I think that in business, there is a lot of, and I'm learning this on so many levels, we do a lot of business based on fear. Mm-hmm. And I think that's not to say you have contracts in place, you kind of have to plan, you do plan, but I also think that people genuinely, if you can lead with authenticity, that really, really goes a long way. And, and even down to the first, our first real estate dealing was, listen, we're going to value you as people, and we're going to lead with authenticity. We're going to be really open and honest and say, listen, we can go through the law. We're going to pay somebody else to get you off, or I can just pay you and we can maintain this relationship and you can get off the property. And that kind of set me up. I feel like that the success of that and having them, take all of their stuff, that was dealing with humans and leading with authenticity is really, really it's a good business move. And I believe that, even though that's not what the common, I would say that's not what the business books
Yeah.
The business books are very much like save your ass, care about the bottom line. And I'm kind of like, you know what, like your ass will get saved, but like, if you deal with a person like a person, there's a lot of room for growth for both parties.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a person that actually saves your ass. So be good to people. And that is so amazing that you say that, because honestly, when I first got into business, I was in love with numbers, and I had no clue how much I needed to be a people person, and how much I needed to understand people, and how much I would need to be able to lead people. And when I found out, I was like, man, and if you look at a lot of successful like multimillionaires and even billionaires, like at the end of the day, they care about their people probably more than they care about their bottom line most times. Like a lot of people have lost money, or I guess quote unquote lost money, because they invested so much into their people, but it always reaped a positive ROI. And the fact that you embody that is just great. So I really do appreciate it.
I think it's like short term, I think it's like how long term are you thinking, and like what are you really thinking? Because and that's what it comes down to. It's like, yeah, you can probably flip a quick thing, but like, are you going to feel good about yourself? Are you going to like, do you feel peace in your heart? Do you, the people around you, and I think that's what it comes down. For me, I know that's what it comes down to. And I'm in a business deal right now where I straight across the table said, will you walk away and feel good about this decision? And the person across from me said, I won't. And I said, okay, then we need to like back to the drawing board, because at the end of the day, like you have to feel good about, we both have to feel really good about this. And it's not worth like an extra, $10,000, $20,000 it's not worth my sleep. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Nope, not worth it. Or so, awesome. Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess that's
okay. 1 second.
Okay, so my second to last question is, you're doing all of these great things and you have so many projects going on right now, from what it sounds like. So what's next? So what's next with Elissa Styled by E or your real estate?
Yeah, I think right now, what is next? I mean, right now I'm really passionate about scaling. So, and right now I'm hiring, I'm hiring a team around me so that we can impact more people. And that feels really, really good for me right now. So that kind of like I said, the Embody Abundance package is the, is really what I'm really passionate about right now when I'm working with clients. And that's basically a merge of what you already have and with a couple, or actually 3 pieces to purchase that really elevates kind of where you are without having to go buy a whole entire new wardrobe. So I'm really, really passionate about that. I also have started, this is our 2nd year, which is crazy to me. Awesome. Second year, 3rd round of the 6-figure stylist masterclass. And so that is through the School of Heart-Centered Styling, which is, the styling school that I run. And basically that's where I teach everything that I do, that intersection of, personal development and personal style. And we, it's half tactical, half very, very heart-centered, like get into alignment. I would almost say like the God principles or the spiritual principles. And yeah, so I'm really excited about that. That launches, we start that in April. So yeah, so those are kind of the things that I'm really excited about. And then real estate is interesting. Real estate, like I said, I mentioned I'm in an evolution out of marriage right now. And that's the result of that is we're really kind of leveling a lot, and selling things, and which I view as kind of making room for the great. It's like, okay, we've like learned, and I think a lot of times we think, oh my gosh, we've like failed, or there's like, we're having to like cash out, and I said I'd never do that, or I'm like having to do things I said I never do, and yet I'm not afraid of it. I'm like, wait, this just means that like we're clearing out and we're like really making way for the great and putting in the right processes and putting together the right people and the right teams really for the next version and the next level. So that's what's happening right now. I think it's like a scale back so that it feels like a scale back for the great. And so I think give me a couple years and I'll probably have a few apartment buildings under my belt, but
Nice.
but I'm really, it's not, I don't feel like scared, about that. It just feels like, okay, that's like, we're kind of like, we're leveling to build, and that's where I am right now. It's like a shrinking to build, and it feels really, really good.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think would this be the last
So
question?
just one last question is, how can people contact you?
Yeah. So I think Instagram is a great, great, great way. I'm very active on stories, very active posting. So that is at styled_by_e. So that's a way that you can find me. You can also go to my website, elissawilliams.com. It's ELISSAWILLIAMS.com. So that's a great way. And there's a link to, my styling packages, as well as the School of Heart-Centered Styling, if you're interested in that, or even coaching. I do offer select coaching to creative entrepreneurs as well. So yeah, that's the best way.
And we forgot to tell everybody that it is Elissa's birthday and she's on this podcast today. So happy birthday again. And thank you so much for jumping on this podcast and really giving our audience this philosophical, like heart-centered, I don't know what.
Just tons of value. And we really actually do appreciate it. And just your whole outlook on people, spirituality, business, with the real estate is so awesome to know entrepreneurs such as yourself. And don't be surprised if we ask to have you on again, because it was an amazing experience and you're just, a barrel of fun. So we do appreciate you.
Well, thank you. You guys are awesome. I really, really, really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll be back. Don't you worry. I'll be back.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you guys.